Have you ever heard of a creature who screams so loud it'll freeze you in your tracks? Or a shapeshifter that could change into any animal at will? These are the stories your abuela and your tios would tell you to keep you in line. They might just have you checking under the bed before you go to sleep tonight. Get ready to fall into the 5 scariest and strangest legends of creatures from Mexican folklore. Friends, welcome to the Mysteries of Latin America, where I tell stories of the myths, legends, history, and mysteries from all over the area between Mexico and Argentina and across the Caribbean islands. My name is Andrew, and I do this so that other people like me who have roots in different parts of Latin America can know our stories, and also so that people who don't share these roots can know a little more about what makes up our cultural DNA. This time we'll be taking a look at classic, and maybe not so classic, Mexican folkloric legends about scary and unusual creatures, some human, some definitely not. The list includes La Llorona, the shape-shifting Nahual, the boogeyman we call El Coco, at least down here, a forest trickster named El Chaneque, and the legendary Charro N. And then I'll remind you of other shows we have for you that form part of the scary and creepy genre some of you really love. Now let's get to the legends, friend. And first up is La Reina, the Queen, La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. You're camping near a river and suddenly you hear a woman's mournful cries drifting through the night air. That, friend, is La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. According to legend, and there are many versions of the legend, which go back to before colonization, La Llorona is a ghostly figure who wanders near bodies of water waiting for her lost children. The most prevalent version suggests that La Llorona, named Maria in many versions, was a beautiful woman who fell in love with a wealthy man. They had 2 children together, but over time the man lost interest in his wife and began neglecting her, eventually leaving her for another woman. Overcome with intense grief, jealousy, and rage, in a fit of madness and desperation, Maria took her children to a river and drowned them, believing it would punish her unfaithful lover and free her from the pain she felt. But instead of freedom, as soon as she realized what she'd done, she was overwhelmed with guilt and despair, leading to her own tragic death by drowning herself in that same river. Maria is now condemned to wander the earth, searching for her lost children, unable to find peace in the afterlife, and weeping for eternity. La Llorona's story varies across Mexico, and actually there are Lloronas or Llorona-like stories in many parts of Latin America and even other parts of the world, with different regions adding their own local twists. Some say she was a noblewoman back during colonial times who lost her children in a tragic accident, while others claim she was a jealous lover. In all versions, her cries are a chilling reminder of her eternal grief. Parents in some parts of Mexico still use her story to keep children away from the water, warning them, do not go near the river after dark, because you never know when La Llorona might be looking for someone to join her lament. And there's a much longer and more fully fleshed out version of the story of La Llorona, as we have a full podcast episode devoted to Mexico's most well-known Weeping Woman. Check the video's description for the link to that episode. And now we're on to number 2, El Nahual, the shapeshifter. Imagine a creature with the power to transform into any animal, from a fearsome jaguar stalking silently in the jungle to a sly coyote prowling the desert. This is El Nahual, a shape-shifting being feared for its dark magic and mysterious ways. Legends tell us that the Nahual uses its power to change forms to play tricks, stalk its prey, and cast curses upon those who dare cross its path. In some versions, Nahuales or Nahualas are powerful sorcerers who control animals and command the forces of nature. The figure of the Nahual appears across many ethnic groups throughout Mexico, with origins stretching back to times long before Spanish colonization. It was believed that certain sorcerers could transform into various beings, primarily jaguars, snakes, birds, dogs, weasels, or other animals. Other legends say they could become balls of fire, meteors, or even small beings with a human form. The term Nahual can refer to both the person and the animal they transform into. But not all Nahuales are agents of darkness. They can be good, evil, or anything in between. Those on the side of light are seen as wise people, guardian spirits, with powers of divination who use their abilities to help others, summon rain, or even ward off hail. On the other hand, an evil Nahual may use their power to harm anyone who angers them. Whatever their alignment, the Nahual's shape-shifting powers make them a formidable and frightening figure. If you see a wild animal behaving in a way that seems unnervingly human, or feel an eerie presence as if someone or something is following you, it might just be El Nahual, watching from the shadows, waiting for its moment. And now we're on to number 3, El Coco, the boogeyman of Latin America. Now growing up, I knew this next creature as El Cuco, but it goes by many names: El Cucuy, El Cocorico, El Bicho, El Viejo del Saco, if you can believe that, and even the Coco Man in some parts of the English-speaking Caribbean. Here in Mexico, I've simply heard it as El Coco, and it's the ultimate bedtime terror, a shadowy figure parents use to scare children into behaving, the ultimate boogeyman. This sneaky monster hides in the darkest corners, like inside closets, under beds, or just outside your bedroom window waiting for a chance to pounce on those who dare to misbehave. Across Mexico, the tale of El Coco takes many forms, each with its own spine-chilling twist. Some say he's a ghost, the restless spirit of a wronged soul. Others whisper that he's a demon who feeds on fear. Often he's described as a shapeless shadow, a creature with glowing red eyes that pierce through the dark, or a cloak that seems to merge seamlessly with the night itself. The mere sound of a scratching noise or the glimpse of a dark shape flickering in the corner of the room is enough to make any child hurry to bed and hide under the covers. Though, honestly, that never made sense to me as a kid. But I digress. El Coco's form may be uncertain, but his presence is unmistakable. He's that feeling of unease that settles over a room, the cold whisper of wind that rustles the curtains when no windows are open. They say that if you hear strange noises at night, a soft scrape, a low growl, it might just be El Coco, El Cuco, or El Cucuy searching for someone who's been naughty. Now let's get to number 4, El Chaneque, the trickster of the forest. Now this next one might be lesser known, but trust me, he's still someone you do not want to meet, especially in the woods at night. His name is El Chaneque, and he's a mischievous little creature who roams Mexico's lush forests and jungles. Often described as an elf-like being with a devilish grin, El Chaneque loves to play tricks on those who stray too far into his territory. Travelers tell stories of being led astray by this trickster, suddenly losing their way, or finding themselves in strange, dangerous places with no memory of how they got there. El Chaneque's story changes depending on where you are in Mexico. In some regions, he's seen as a guardian spirit of the forest, a protector of nature. But in others, he's a malevolent being who delights in causing trouble and may even steal your soul if you wander too far. So if you're out in the wild and hear strange noises like soft laughter or whispering leaves, or feel like unseen eyes are watching you, it might just be El Chaneque up to his old tricks. And also beware here in the Yucatan Peninsula, where we have our own version of these elf-like tricksters called aluches. They say if you don't ask for permission before building on their land, bad things will happen. Don't believe me? Take the story from right here in Cancun in the early 1990s, when a concrete bridge mysteriously collapsed 3 times Some say an angry Alush was to blame. They even had to perform a special ceremony and leave the Alush a special gift to appease his angry spirit. You can check out that story in the link in the description, as there's also a podcast episode about those devilish little local tricksters. But hold tight, because we're not done yet. We've reached our last terrifying creature of Mexican folklore, for now. And that, friend, is El Charro Negro. In the dark of night, beware the ghostly rider known as El Charro Negro, the Black Cowboy, the Black Wrangler. Dressed in a black charro suit with silver embroidery and a broad-brimmed black hat, he rides a massive black horse with glowing red eyes. His presence is often announced by a chilling scent of sulfur and smoke. El Charro Negro is said to have been once a wealthy nobleman whose insatiable greed led him to make a dangerous pact with the devil. In exchange for eternal riches and power, he traded his soul. But when the time came to pay, he tried to deceive Satan and was cursed to roam the earth forever, seeking others to take his place. In various regions, the legend of El Charro differs. In some places, he's seen as a fallen nobleman seeking revenge. In others, he's a demon cowboy hunting for souls. Regardless of his origin, his goal remains the same: to tempt the desperate and greedy with promises of wealth and power, only to claim their souls in return. Legend has it that El Charro Negro appears to those traveling alone at night, especially if they're lost or burdened by troubles. He'll offer them their heart's desire, but this comes at a steep price. Those who accept his bargain soon face terrible misfortune. Wealth turns to dust, loved ones disappear, and lives unravel. In Veracruz, some believe he rides along old colonial roads, while in Jalisco, his appearance is a sign of impending doom. Oaxaca's tales speak of him haunting graveyards during Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead, when the barrier between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. If you encounter a shadowy rider offering you riches or safety, beware of the signs: the cold wind, the echoing hoofbeats, and the smell of sulfur. Engaging with El Charro Negro could mean trading more than you bargained for, and your soul may be lost forever. Always remember, if you see him, walk away quickly and never look back. And there you have it, friend. The 5 most terrifying creatures of Mexican folklore. Did I leave out some of the stories you grew up with? And maybe you don't have Mexican roots, but your roots are from El Salvador, Guatemala, Argentina, Cuba, or from somewhere else in Central America, South America, or the Caribbean, and you have a different version or totally different legendary creatures. Let me know about it in the comments, and then I can do a part 2, and maybe with your help. Now, I mentioned that I'd tell you about some of the other episodes of the podcast that also deal with the scary, creepy, and spooky, and here's a short, quick list. First up is the disappearance of Dr. Jacobo Grinberg, one of Mexico's foremost neuroscientists, who vanished one fine day and where people say he was either murdered or he disappeared into the Matrix. Then there's the legend of the woman in black from Guatemala in a double feature with the story of the Aluches, the trickster elves of the Yucatan Peninsula. And then there's the grisly myths of El Silbón and La Pata Sola of South America. And from Monterrey, Mexico, the unusual urban story of the haunted House of Tubes. And there's more, friend. If you click on the link in the comments or description that takes you to the vault of all the podcasts, you'll find a little over 60 shows now. Or if you contact me at andy@andycancun.com, I'll send you the links directly. That's andy@andycancun.com. Friend, thanks for listening to this special Creatures episode of the Mysteries of Latin America, and consider subscribing, sharing, and saving the episode so you never miss a story. My name is Andrew, y nos vemos pronto. Adiós.